This is something I'm very anxious for you to explain to me. I'm watching the Ukraine war. So everyone's on board. They're blue and yellow ribbons all over my neighborhood.
I was not on board at all.
Well, the country was. The Republicans were and the Democrats were. And I kept hearing, boy, it's like they're kind of like us. They're fighting against this oppressor and trying to shut it off so they can be their own way and get away from the kleptocracy and everything else. Now Trump comes back, and all of a sudden, all the people who are in favor of Ukraine on the right now say that it's a kleptocracy and Zelensky is a bad guy and Putin, not so bad. Russia, not so bad. It's really NATO and America that has done the wrong thing here and forced Russia's hand. And Ukraine and Zelensky kind of did too, and they're really dirty, and they're stealing all our money and selling all our stuff. I don't believe any of it. You are a big purveyor of this, and I want to understand it. How did everything change this way?
Well, it changed because politicians in general, with some exceptions, but not many, have no principles at all, and they respond just to one stimulus, which is election. That's it. And if they think something will get them reelected, they'll say it, and if they don't, they won't. I've said the same thing, I think, since day one, which is this is not in our interest at all, and we've really hurt ourselves, and we've dislodged the dollar from its preeminence, and that has consequences people are not thinking through. And Russia, of course, has an interest in what happens in Ukraine, and of course they don't want American missiles on their border any more than we'd want Chinese missiles in Tijuana. Like that's of course that's a real thing. And moreover, the thing you fear most is the alignment of Russia with China, because then you unite the world's largest country, the largest nuclear arsenal, with the world's largest economy and the world's largest population, and that becomes a bloc that many others gravitate to, and that reduces you, the United States, to the bitch position very fast.
Understand, but even within that, the premise is Russia bad, China potentially bad.
What does bad even mean? I mean, like...
Russia bad means they are consistently invested in what's bad for America. Putin is a constant...
Well, they certainly are now. I mean, they're aligned with China. So, yeah, that was not true at the beginning of 2022. And so
I would invading Ukraine was wrong, what they did. And Ukraine did not start that war.
Well, the whole thing was wrong. No, Russia invaded Ukraine for one specific reason. Russia's concern was that Ukraine remain not part of NATO. They want to control Ukraine to some extent. It's their neighbor. The bottom line is Russia wanted a friendly government in Ukraine, okay? I get it. The United States, which is nowhere near Russia or Ukraine, went across the Atlantic Ocean to install its president in Ukraine in a coup. Okay, I guess both are bad, but if you're being an adult about it, you understand that great powers have an interest in not having other people's nuclear weapons on their borders.
So if we don't have nuclear weapons on the border. The only nuclear weapon...
Well,
the only
really? So NATO doesn't have... Look...
In Ukraine? No.
Okay. Their concern was...
And Ukraine used to have a lot of nukes, and they agreed to get rid of them on the basis of protection from Russia.
Those were Soviet nukes, and that was negotiated by the United States. But
right.
All I'm saying is, if you're thinking about it from the perspective of what's good for the United States, you do not want Russia becoming in close military alliance and economic alliance with China. And every administration has understood this. The Biden administration went to the Munich Security Conference in February of 2022 and had the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, say at a press conference to Zelensky, we want you in NATO. We want you to be an American satellite with American weapons in your country. She said that, knowing that was the red line. Putin's like, look, I just don't want Ukraine in NATO. You've had all these countries around my borders in NATO, but you cannot have Ukraine. It's too big. It's too important. And Putin gave a speech immediately after in Russia saying, this NATO thing is too much. We have to invade, and we're doing it. Those are the facts, okay? So the question is, why would you do that? Because we want to fight Russia. And now that is the core, the desire of the American foreign policy establishment to have a war with Russia. That does not make any sense to me.
Zelensky articulates a very different case, right? He wanted.
What's his case?
His case is he wanted America and Europe to help them fight back Russia because Russia wants to reestablish the USSR. And he wants to keep Ukraine sovereign. America was helping them with that, and now all of a sudden, Zelensky's a thief. They're stealing all our money. They're selling all our weapons to Mexican cartels. None of these things are true.
Well, that is true.
Why? No, it is not true.
Okay, I'll just go in order.
Give me the point of it, and then
Ukraine.
We can talk
just to define sovereignty. Sovereignty is the freedom to make independent decisions. And Ukraine does not have that and has never had that since 2014 when its government was installed by an American coup.
Zelensky
led
would
by
say
Toria
he was
Nuland.
democratically elected.
Well, he's
and
not
that
democratically
the
elected.
people-
He's passed his term.
Well,
He just put his main political opponent under indictment and froze his personal funds under internal sanctions, the security services of Ukraine.
sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I don't
we
know.
just went through the same thing in this country.
Sounds like
What
dictatorship,
I'm saying
by
is,
the way.
No, but he's not a dictator. He was elected, and now, under their constitution, he does have the ability to stall elections and operate under martial law during the conflict. It's the same thing with Israel right now. They're not having elections either because they're in the midst of an active conflict. It's not a time for transition of power.
Okay, but I don't know why we make excuses for dictatorship.
It's not a dictatorship.
Of course it is. No. And to your second point, he has absolutely, as a matter of fact, the Ukrainian military has sold those weapons on the black market around the world. They've wound up in the hands of, among others, the Mexican drug cartels, the Taliban, Hamas in Gaza. Fact. And a lot of other groups.
I don't agree that those are facts.
You know what?
I'll tell you why.
I'll bet you my car that in the next
kind of car
year,
is it?
Well, it's some crappy.
Oh, then I'm not going to bet that.
Okay. No, I don't have nice cars. I'll admit that. I've never bought a new car that I know
we're not
of.
doing a swap.
Okay. But anyway, the point is, that's and as no one believes me. I know someone who bought some of the weapons.
Well, first of all, you would have to substantiate, who it is that you knew, because
Do you believe the most corrupt country in Europe, which is so corrupt that NATO didn't want it as a member, you believe it's outside the realm of possibility that facing defeat, the leaders of that military would not sell the weapons that they're getting from the West? Are you kidding?
cannot substantiate a claim on the basis of mere suspicion. That because
It's not mere suspicion. I know someone who bought some of the weapons.
I believe that you think that. What I'm saying
I don't
is,
think that. I know it.
I'm saying that, well, you know that they say it. You don't know whether they did. And I'll tell you why I'm suspicious. Because the missiles that Russia put out those pictures of were from like 2014, and they didn't even have javelins then. Are you texting while I'm having a conversation with you?
I'm texting right now.
Very
with someone.
rude.
No,
Very
I'm texting
rude.
on WhatsApp right now on this exact subject.
Tucker, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying I'm disagreeing that
saying
it's a fact that the military there is spending weapons that they very much need to Mexican cartels. This is not documented stuff, and it seems to want to smear Ukraine to make them the bad guy.
It's not a matter
and
of
make Russia the good
smearing
guy.
Ukraine. Okay. This is one of those topics that I'm just gonna.
I'm not mad at you.
No.
It's a
I'm
conversation.
mad because I know this is true.
Then why hasn't it been documented?
I'm just telling you that if this will be documented, and I got that directly once again from someone who purchased quite a few of those weapons, who I know personally, and it's just frustrating because I can't say
But I'm
beyond
not,
that.
look, my point is not to frustrate you, Tucker. It's to understand
let
this
me ask
mentality
you
of
this.
framing Ukraine
It's
as
not
Zelensky
it's
as
not
the
a
bad guy.
mentality. I'm not even blaming Zelensky directly. I'm saying this is the largest country in Europe. We have poured billions of dollars in pretty high-tech weapons systems into this country, and we're not keeping track of them.
So do you believe that we should just back out of what we're doing there now and let Russia take it?
Russia take it? I don't know. At this point,
Well,
Russia has. We're not in charge. Russia just won. They beat us in their war. In case you haven't noticed, Russia outproduced in munitions NATO, including the United States, 4-1. So we just lost the war. So we are not negotiating from a position of strength. Sorry. I'm not taking Russia's side. I'm on America's side. This is terrible for us. We've exposed how weak we are.
See, I saw it the other way, which is we thought Russia was going to roll over Ukraine, and they have been unable to really
rolled
move the
over
line.
us. They took a big chunk of eastern Ukraine, and for 3 years we've progressed toward bankruptcy trying to stop it, and we've not been able to. They won. This is bad. It's divided our country. All these dumb Ukraine people are flying foreign flags in front of their houses.
See, I feel that the division is forced in this country. That, to me, it seems pretty basic that Russia can't have Ukraine because it doesn't stop.
We can't. What are we going to do?
It doesn't stop it.
We already. But okay. But at some
then
point,
it's Estonia and Latvia. And
Estonia. You know, it's always some chick, that blonde chick. I'm president of Estonia. You know, a country of 5 million people that invented the sauna. By the way, I'm part Finnish. I'm not against Estonia. I'm sure it's great. But the idea that some woman who's never been in the armed service, like setting military policy for the EU, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to, you can't do anything. You don't have an army. We have a nuclear-armed power, largest nuclear arsenal in the world that is fighting for its very life, that is aligned with China, okay, which is the largest economy in the world.
I don't know that Russia's fighting for its life. I think Putin forced this situation.
Okay, whatever. Leaving aside moral culpability, I'm just saying it's a big deal for them. It's on their border. It's their border, okay? So now what are our options? Like, actually, what are our options?
The options are what President Trump is doing right now, which is to try to get the parties to the table and draw a line in the sand and make a deal. Right?
That's the only option I see. I don't see any other options. But maybe I'd love to hear what they are.
No. I mean, there's never any other option. Unless you want to actively fight and take territory and occupy.
Who's going to actively fight? There are no Ukrainians left.
Well, look, both sides are manpower poor, right? You know the stories about Russia emptying the prisons.
Russia has 100 million
140 million people. But
100 million more people.
But have you ever heard of us emptying out the prisons? I mean, why does he have to do that? He's in a desperate place.
Because he doesn't want his citizens to have to fight an unpopular war because he's worried about his popularity because he wants to stay in power.
You think Putin is concerned about his popularity in a place where he kills all of his opponents on a regular basis?
Putin is very concerned about his popularity.
Really? When he completely engineers the outcome of everything that happens?
Russia is a very complicated place with a lot of different competing power centers, including the FSB, which
then how has he stayed in power so long?
Because he's really good at politics and he pays very close attention to what the public thinks.
You know how lousy life is there for people, right? And not just because of the economic sanctions right now. It just has been. I mean, you know.
Have you been there recently?
Recently, no.
I've been there twice. I've been there twice in the last year.
Why are you allowed in?
I don't know. I'm an American.
Friend of Putin. That's
whatever.
Friend of Putin.
Because I believe in seeing things and reaching my own conclusions.
Oh, me too. I'm not allowed in there as a journalist.
I'm sure you could call right now and they will let you in, and you should go.
They just wouldn't let me out. Wind up like Paul Whelan.
I think
you wouldn't be arguing my case.
But look, here's the point. Putin does not have absolute control of his country, and there are all kinds of potential rivals. He's been there for 20 years. You sound
more sympathetic towards him than towards Zelensky.
I'm definitely more sympathetic to Putin than Zelensky for the following reason. I'm not sympathetic to Putin in the sense that I don't want to move to Russia. I don't see Russia as like a close friend of mine at all, or a free country or anything like that. I'm just saying I think it's fair to judge leaders on how they do for their country. They have one job. Do a good job for your country. Make it better. And
you think Russia's doing well?
A lot better than Ukraine. I mean, a lot of Ukrainians have fled Ukraine to Russia. A lot.
Well, yeah, they're under siege right now.
No, but I'm just saying, like, Russia actually, for a country at war, is thriving.
You think that's true for Russia, that they don't look really weak because they couldn't roll over Ukraine?
Russia has nuclear weapons. It has hypersonic weapons. Russia could eliminate Ukraine in about 10 seconds. By the way, anybody who's trying to avoid a nuclear exchange, I'm on your side.
Yes.
And that would include almost no Republican members of the Senate, okay? They're all like full-blown. They're old. They don't care. Like I said, they don't care about their grandkids or humanity itself or whatever. They're totally willing to risk nuclear war.
Although Lindsey Graham just took a step backwards, which I thought was surprising.
It's completely silly. He's blaming... Look, a lot's going to come out. We reached an impasse on the question of whether Ukraine is selling weapons. They are.
It's not a debate. I'm just saying that it seems that the line has shifted and now Ukraine is the bad guy.
Okay, we haven't heard anything about Ukraine for the past 3 years. You were required, and I got fired over this, so I know. You were required to pretend that Zelensky, who I think is a complicated person, for whom I feel sorry, actually. I feel like he's a pawn among bigger powers, okay? I feel bad for Zelensky. But we were required to pretend that he was Jesus and that Vladimir Putin was Satan. And my only point is that's not true, actually. It's way more complicated than that. Both of them have good and bad qualities. And moreover, it's not our fight. Like, what are we doing there?
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.